Okay, welcome to the third movie. We're going to do these buttons. I'm going to get right into it. I've already made a bunch of these paths, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes, but I'm going to make these paths in front of you. So, and I may have to make some more paths as we go, but if I hit the U key, I made the U key two things. I made it be the ellipse tool, which is inside the toolbar there, and I also made sure it was not on shapes up here in the upper left. I made sure it was on paths and not pixels. It's got to be on paths. Doesn't matter what layer you're selected on yet. And before I go any farther, I'm going to make a layer folder right now, and I'm going to call it body, because I kind of want to condense my all of these layers into one. So I'm going to take the entire body, all of these layers, and throw them into the layer folder called body. Now look at how I can just take it and go boom. Okay, now I'm going to make a new layer folder, and on top I'm going to call it buttons. And in buttons, I'm going to make a bunch of layers just to have it in there for right now. And then I'll do something with it in a few minutes. I'll click to the bottom one, and we'll just call that center button 1. But I'm going to take the U key, and I'm going to start in the center here. And I'm going to hold the Option key, which will let me draw from the center out. And I can kind of form the ellipse. Now, with the path selected, when I let go, I just hit Command T, and you can see how I can mold or turn this button into the things that I need in a few seconds. So you can see how I'm now moving that into position, making sure my major and minor axis are all correct for the ellipse. Let me move this out a little bit. Now that's the first button. That is going to be the black shape, okay? Which is very cool. Now down here, I'm going to call it center 1. Now through a series of shrinking, either with select, modify, contract, or with just making an ellipse smaller and smaller and smaller, I'll make the inside buttons. But watch how quickly I could actually just take center 1, save it, over here, double click this. It almost takes longer to type in center 2, which is going to be the outer gray shape. Now look at how I could take this and simply just move in the points. I could marquee with the P key, I could marquee this, grab this point and just move it to the center, or move it towards the center. And now I've got that pretty well going for the center there. Just let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, and now this one shrinks a little bit to the inside of that shape. I'm missing my handlebar. There we go. And now, I don't know why, but the tolerance in Photoshop CC 2015, the tolerance on this is really tender. But that's okay. I'll just live with it. Now I have the inside gray button. Okay, now I want an inside button. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll save it again. And let's go down to make it center 3. Now I'll hit Command T, and you can see that I can actually shrink this one pretty close to having it fit already with Command T. And right now I have the center button a little bit wider out here. There we go. And now if I hit the return key, I have that one saved. So I should be able to paint this in 3 layers. So let me call this center 1. Let me double click it and hit Command C. Let me call this center 2, and let me call this center 3. So Command V, number 3. So center 1, 2, and 3, save the file. Now, let's make a selection of number 1. Okay, let's just make it be black. So let's come in here, and let's now take this, turn off the clicky copy, hit Command H so I can watch myself paint. Now what I should have done was moved this down so I can see what I'm painting. Do you follow what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm going to deselect, click way up here and hit the V key, and I'm going to take the time to actually move this one close enough to where I can get it on screen, where you and me can actually watch it being painted. Okay, so I'm going to click to center 1, Command click center 1's layer, take the Command H, take my B key, and instead of just filling this a whole bunch, I'm just going to paint the black on the outer edge of that button. Okay, now I can Gaussian blur all of these 1 pixel in a minute. Okay, now it looks like there's a little bit of a bright value, and I'm not sure what it's grabbing here, but it looks like it's trying to catch a little bit of a bright value. So I'm going to name a new layer center 1, and I'm going to call it the highlight. And if it doesn't look good, then I'll take it away. But I'm going to go in here and grab a bright value. So let's go in here and just grab this bright value. And then I'm going to take it, and you can see how it kind of transits from dark to light. So I'm just going to come in here and go like this, and I'm going to take my brush, and I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a bright base right on the outside. And I'm painting at 8. I'm going to put it down to 4 on the flow, so not a lot of paint is going in. Now what I'm going to do is go to center number 2. But I want to actually come in. See how this is only this thick between here and here? Let me turn on the clicky copy and show you what I mean. I'm going to hit Command H to show you the selection again. Now I want to shrink that selection for the inside of this. So I'm going to go Select, Modify, Contract by 3 pixels. Wasn't enough. Let's go to Select, Modify, Contract by almost enough. Let's go to 2 pixels. Actually, that wasn't so bad. I'm going to Z back because I think I liked where it was, but I'm going to kind of shift it over a little bit. So I'm going to go hit the B key and use my cursor keys and move it over and down a little bit. Now let's see what this looks like. So I'm actually going to now, on center number 2, I'm going to come back with this value to give myself this edge. Now do you see how I'm giving myself this nice highlighted edge right there? Now let's go in and do center number 3. So center number 3 is going to be the center of the whole thing. Center 2, I might need a different one. See, I want to come in now with this value right here. See where I'm pointing? So I'm going to click that value. That probably should have been center number 2. I'm going to go put in another one and call it center number 2 gray. Doesn't matter what you name them. What matters is if you keep them organized. I mean, who knows what the heck I'm doing. But let's go grab this gray and let's make a selection of that. That's good. And now let's turn off the clicky copy. Let's keep our eye on that little clicky thingy up there. Okay. And let me hit Command H so you can see it. But let me go. I was going to hit Option Delete, but I don't want to. I actually want to come in here and paint this kind of harshly right there, meaning I'm just going to lay that value in here for that button right there. Now what I would like to do, see this bright value that's right here? I'm going to freehand that. Okay, so I'm going to put in here center 2 highlights. Let me double click this and hit Command C. Now let's make a new layer. This is all about what painting is. Let's hit Command V and let me go center 2 highlight. Now I'm going to paint with the clicky copy on. Watch how cool this is. If I come in here with a smaller brush with the clicky copy on, I'm going to grab this tone right there. Now I can't even see where the color is going, but you see how I've already painted that in there really nice? Because I'm using the clicky copy to help me paint. So I'm only painting where that is. It's not hurting anything. And what I should do is get a little darker with it on this side. Now I know that I told you I shouldn't put more than one color on one layer. I know that I said that. Let me hit Command H and see what I've got. All right. The reason why I'm saying this is because these two colors here, and then this dark, I know I said one color for one layer, but rules are meant to be broken. And this is so far away from this that if I didn't like it, I could always take the magic wand and just the lasso and lasso that color off that layer. It's not touching this color. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, I won't explain again, but let me come in here now and just darken this on the same layer that I put in that light value, and I realize that that's probably messing up your brain, but that's okay. Let me go to center number 3, and it's going to be the center shape. So let's go now, click on center number 3. There is my color for center number 3, which I probably will brighten it up just a tiny bit on the front edge. So now let me hit Command H, Option Delete. I didn't come in with the, I forgot to grab the color. Let me grab that color. Let me click it over here to click it on center 3, turn this off, and Option Delete and Fill. Now, I'm going to brighten up on that button right here, just a little bit right there, right on this side, just to get it just a bit brighter. So I will do that on another layer. So let me double click center number 3 and hit Command C, make a new layer, and oh, I didn't want to drag it. I'm sorry. Photoshop is acting funny. What happened was I stuck center number 3 and I made a copy of it. I don't want a copy of it. I want a new layer right there. And I'll go center number 3 lighter. Save the file so if it quits I'm not lost. Turn this clicky copy off. Make my brush bigger, and I just want to add a little bit of brightness right on this part right there. Now, that's a nice button. See how my button looks really nice? I should put a little highlight edge right there. I should put a little highlight value right there. How do I do that? I make another layer called highlight. Let's make the brush really small, and let's grab a really bright value. So let me go in to grab a bright value out here. I'm going to put up a highlight here and a highlight over there. So let me make a selection of number 1. I don't want to paint it too far, so I actually want to contract the selection by a little bit. Now I think I already did that when I went down here. No, I didn't. So I'm going to go to Select, Modify, Contract by about 4 pixels. Okay, that was perfect. Now let's save it. I'll just save it as number 4 pixels. So let me just go 4, just so I know where it is. Now what am I going to do with it? I'm going to make a selection of number 1 right there, and I'm going to go in Channels and go Command Option to subtract the number 4 one. I went Command Option. Now look, it's only letting me paint right in there. I'll paint it, then I'll Gaussian blur this, okay? So I'll turn this back on. Let me grab a little bit of a white value, and let's just make that white value, here I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm going to make the white value a little bit bright right there. So let's now get smaller with the brush. Let's click a highlight here, and then let's click a highlight right over here. Now let me hit Command H and show you. See, now I have a little highlight. I'll deselect it. I'll add a little highlight away from the item and away from the item, and now I have that button, which my button looks a whole lot better than their button. Okay, and how many layers did it take? Well, let's examine. 1 for the highlight, 2 for the inner part, 3 as it gets bigger, 4 as it even gets bigger, 5 as it gets to the outer part, 6, 7, 8. 8 silly layers for that. Now let me make a folder inside of here. So let me click to the highlight, click to the folder, let me call it Center Button. Now let me grab all of these layers, since it's getting really unmanageable, and put them in the Center Button, and now I have my Center Button done. Now let's go to the bottom here. I've already done the paths for it. So above this I have more layers. I'm going to call this lower number 1. Now watch how I do it again. Okay, I'm going to turn on the clicky copy so you can see it. It's a big black shape. I already drew it, and it's called lower number 1. Do you see how it's just that? Let me take the P key. Let me hit the F key to expand this so I can show you the whole thing. So what I did was I drew this one. I'll even go through the process of showing you, where is my lower? It's right. There it is. Okay, lower 1. Here's lower 2. Is the inside shape. You can hardly see it. Sometimes it's good if you actually make a copy of the clicky copy and you brighten it up just a bit. So if I did that for you, I'm going to throw it away in a second. I would take the time to do this. I'm going to hit Command L on it, and I'm going to brighten it up ridiculously so you can see what that button actually looks like there. See the buttons? Now I don't want to paint it this bright, but now you can see what the button is. Follow what I'm saying? So I'm going to turn it off. Now I can see what that button is. I'm going to throw this away in a few minutes, but look at how now I have the next one, and then I wanted to make the little holes for you. Okay, so I'm actually going to select away from this. Here's a trick. When you can't select away from this because you can't get to the bottom of it, okay, you hold the Command or Control key and click on it. I'm going to hit Command S to save, and that deselects it. So now let me make an ellipse, which I'm going to duplicate a bunch of times. Okay, I'll turn this on so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take the U key, hold the Option key, and I'm going to make an ellipse. Now I'm going to hit Command T on the ellipse and turn it. So I'm going to turn it until I get it right where I want to. Let's just make it squishy squashed and turn it a little bit less like this. Now I'm going to paint it as if it's gray, and then I'm going to move the buttons to paint the black part, okay, because you can see that there's an edge to it. Okay, so I'm going to hit the return key. Now I'm going to hold Command Option, and 1 becomes 2. See how I did that? Now watch this. I'm going to grab both of these buttons. I'm going to hold Command Option and drag, and 2 become what? 4. Now let me move it over just a little bit. Okay, and let me move the cursor keys over. Okay, now let me zoom back out. Now let me marquee all 4, and 4 become 8. And now you can see how I have 8 buttons when I really only drew 1 button. Now, here are the buttons. Let's name this thing little black buttons, or little holes. That's really what they are. Now, would you please watch how I do this? I'm going to marquee I'm going to duplicate it, and now I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to move it for the black center. So I'm just going to say black center. Now watch how easy I do this. I'm going to marquee all of these with the P key. Now I'm going to pick them up, and I'm going to put them like this. So do you see how now I've got it to where it's right there? Now let me it's not obeying perfect. Whoops, I needed to not lose them. Okay, make sure all the points are solid, and now let's just kind of average it in there. There, that looks good. Now what I'm going to do to paint the blacks is I'll make a selection of the first one, and I'll intersect the second one and see how I have the black shapes. Okay, now let's deselect. Now I'm going to turn this off, and we're going to paint the whole lower shape. So let's call this lower 1, Command C. I know I'm going to need lower 2. I'm going to need lower 3. And I'm going to probably need lower 4. Okay, save the file again. Now let's click to lower 1. That's just going to be a big black shape. So let me turn this off, which is the clicky copy. You can see if I hit the V key and right-hand click, I can move this closer. Now I have all of what I need on the screen. I wish I had more room, but that's okay. Let me make the layer palette just a little bit smaller. Okay, and move it over. One more, Command S to save. So I'm clicking on lower 1. So I'm on the right layer. I'm going to find the lower 1 shape. Boom, right there. Now I'm going to hit the B key, grab the black. I'm going to hit Option Delete, and I'm going to now go Gaussian blur it by 1 pixel. So let's go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I think I'll go, 2 pixels on this one. And now what I'm going to do is add a layer mask to that. Because over here in the corner you can see this eliminates itself. Look, when I'm turning this on, do you see how in the corner right here on the bottom left it actually eliminates and it kind of softens? So all I have to do is just paint on it until it's soft. Let me deselect and paint on that until it's soft. There, that's beautiful. That is actually beautiful right there. Look what I've done. I've actually softened that edge. That looks really nice. And over here, it's just a little bit softer over here too. Now, let me click up to the next one. What's the next one? Well, there's a highlight back here. Do you see it? There's actually, this is a gray shape. It's not as dark as the whole interior. So what I'm going to do is I drew it. I drew it right here. So I'm going to turn on my clicky copy so I see what I drew, and then I even drew that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a selection of this one. So I command click it, and I'm going to subtract this one from it. Now, look and see how I'm only painting inside of here. And then what it's going to let me do if I hit Command H is it's going to let me just paint in that area where if I grab this gray, I can come in here real gently and look at how I can just paint in that little bit of a top edge on this. And I'll brighten it up just a little bit, okay? Just so we can see it. Now, because I'm the artist, I can do what I want. Now I'm going to go up to number 3 and I'm going to paint the front edge. So now I click and I'm going to brighten up on the front edge a little bit more than what it was. So if I hit Command H, I'm actually going to paint so this becomes brighter in here, just a little bit brighter. There, that looks really nice. Okay, now I can tone it down if I want, just by, first we're going to Gaussian blur it. Let me go over here, and then this is where the holes go, okay? So I've got it a little bit too bright, but that's what they make opacity on the layer for. So now I'm going to put in the highlight. I need one more layer for the black holes. And the black holes are not going to take very long, so they'll be easy to do. But I'm going to name this lower 5. Hit Command S to save. So now on lower 4, do you see this little highlight back here? Well, I've already got that actually accounted for. So let me make a selection of this. Whoops. Let me make a selection of that. I was looking at the wrong thing. Now, look at how on the clicky copy I've already drawn that, okay? Now what I have to do is simply find the one for the inside right there, make a selection of it, or subtract it. That's Command Option Subtract it. Now I'm only painting in this little area right there. Now I want that a little bit smaller than what it is. Do you see on the clicky copy how that's a highlight edge right there? Well, mine's too big. So I go to Select, Modify, Contract by 2 pixels. Look what I have. Isn't that gorgeous? Now let me hit Command H. Let me grab the bright value, turn off the clicky copy, and then look at how I can paint a little bit of a bright edge. Never be afraid to go more, it's not a good word I'm going to say, more bright or brighter than you need, because number 1, we're going to Gaussian blur everything, and number 2, we can turn down opacities, right? Now let me click to number 5 before I do any of that. So now let's put in the holes. Well, the holes consist of a dark with a little bit of a bright edge on the top. There's a little bit of a brightness on the top of those. So I could kind of do that with maybe 2 layers. So I'm going to put in 2 layers, and I'm going to go, that's lower 6 and lower 5. So what I'm going to do on lower 5, I'm thinking, let me make my buttons first. Let me click the buttonholes. Let's darken those. So let's go in with a dark value. So let me grab the dark value. Let me go Option Delete. And now let's kind of brighten up in the middle of them. So what I want to do is deselect, add a layer mask to that, and look what I'm going to do. I'm going to take black on the layer mask. I'll put it back up at 6 on the flow. Now, look at how I can brighten up in the middle of those just by painting on the layer mask and taking that out. It's kind of pretty and it's working. And remember, I'm going to Gaussian blur that by 1 pixel when I'm all done. I'll Gaussian blur the whole thing. Let me make that smaller. By 1 pixel. So it doesn't look so intense. Okay, now let me go a little bit more like this. Okay, now I actually think the holes in the reference were on the wrong side. The bright little edge needs to be over here, not on the top. So I'm actually going to make a new layer underneath this layer. And I'm going to call it holes highlight. Now, all I have to do, it's really simple. I hope I spelled that right, is make a selection of the overall buttons. Now, watch what I do. I'm going to hit the B key, and I'm going to move this forward. See how I did that? See how easy that was? Now, if I paint underneath the buttons, won't a highlight appear? So let me hit Command H, grab a bright value, and now look at how I have a real pretty little highlight on all the buttons. So I can go like this, I can go like this, like this, like this, like this, and keep the highlights going. And really what's happening is I'm painting them, and I'll put a little tiny highlight right there so they look kind of pretty. And now I have that really pretty. Now let's put in the actual hole on the inside. So that's what I'm going to do on number 6. So I make a selection of the buttons and I subtract this. Nope, wrong one. I intersect this. Now I have the little black area. Let me get black with it. Make sure it is black. And then I'm going to hit Command H and watch if I go Option Delete, I have my buttons. They're not buttons. I keep on calling them buttons. They're actually holes. Okay. Now, look at how I have everything to bright. So let me hit the V key. Let me right-hand click on lower 3. Let's remove the opacity on lower 3 until it looks good. That looks great. Now let me go over here. Let's click on this on lower 2. Let's remove the opacity from lower 2 until it looks good. Right about there. Now I'll save the file. And look at how nice my bottom looks. And let me turn off the little copy here and look at on the clicky copy how absolutely beautiful everything looks. Now let's go up the side here and let's click this. There's going to be one more movie, which will be a very quick movie on the thing here, on the front face. Okay. Now I have another button, but I need to now, let's call this lower. So I'm going to now make another layer folder for lower. I really like how you're seeing me paint everything. Now let's take all of these lower shapes and move them into lower and close it. Now let's make another bunch of layers. Let's go over here and paint this black button and the things that are in front of it and behind it. Well, here's the shapes. Now I've already drawn those shapes, okay? Meaning, let me go where I had them. So I'll get close to it and I'll show you the shapes. Okay, they're right here. So black inside. Okay, so I started with these shapes right here. It was this shape. I'm going to make this a little bit deeper so I can show you all my shapes. I drew this. Where is my shape? Small shape number 1. It's a little bit up higher, right there. So let me take the P key and show you. On the same path, I drew this side and I drew this side. All I'm going to do is come up with a darker value on the front of it and a bright value on the top of it. Okay, I'm going to freehand that. Okay, and then that should look pretty good once I get it done. So let me call this number 1. I'm not even going to name these. I'm just going to call it number 1. So let me make a selection of this. You know, I didn't even Gaussian blur the bottom ones. I forgot to Gaussian blur those. I better go do that. Wow, I forgot to Gaussian blur those. I think I should. In front of you, I think I should. Let me go open up the lower. Now this is going to be easy. I want you to see what I'm going to do here. To this back part, I already did Gaussian blur that. That's been Gaussian blurred right here, 2 pixels. But I want to Gaussian blur this edge right there, and this edge here, and this edge here. So I'm going to click on that one first. Deselect everything. Let's go to 1 pixel on the Gaussian blur. I'll show you why I'm going to do that. 1. Okay, that's beautiful. I love it. Let me click to here and hit Command what? What is that? Command F. So let's go Command F on this one. Let's go Command F on this one. And now I have all of that Gaussian blurred by 1. Now let's go back up to here and let me close lower and let's click on the number 1. So remember, nothing looks good until it's 75% completed. Let me turn on the little clicky copy so I can see those buttons. Let me hit the V key and move this right up here so I can see everything I'm painting on the screen. Okay, now let's click back down to the number 1 layer, hit Command S to save, and we will go ahead and do it. Now, I'm not going to paint these on the same layer. What am I talking about? I'm not going to paint this and this on the same layer, because I want this to be the top layer, all of this to be the middle layers, and this to be the bottom layer. Okay, so I'm going to start with the bottom layer. So I'll start with the back side. Okay, so if it's confusing, you just have to kind of start thinking your way through things. So what I did was I made a selection of that. Now I'm going to take the B key and I'm going to make it be a bright value, but not too bright, and then I'm going to Gaussian blur it. So I'm going to take it like this. Let's turn it off. Let's hit Command H, and let's just bring this straight down the front of it. There, that's about all I want to do on that one. Now I'm going to click to a higher. Let's call this number, I'm going to call this 1 and 2 for the first thing and the second thing, but I'm going to do this one on a higher layer. So let me hit Command H and show you that one. Now let's turn this on. I just want to take and I just want to put in a little bit of value on the top of this button. Now look what I've done. That's not a bad thing. I've done a really nice job in making it look right, but it doesn't have to be absolutely beautiful because it's going to be very small on the piece. Command H shows you what I've done. Now let's just bring this down a little bit like this and down a little bit like this. And I shouldn't have done that second one. There, that's absolutely beautiful. Now let's come a little bit farther out. Let's come a little brighter with it. And then I'm going to click back down to the number 1 layer, and I'm going to do the same thing back here. Remember, I'm painting on 2 different layers because I want the black button to be the between things. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, I'm going to Gaussian blur those. So I deselect. I'm going to click up to number 2, and I'm going to go. Remember, I had 1 pixel on the Gaussian blur. So if I hit Command F on it, look at how it Gaussian blurred. I'm actually showing you. Let's zoom in. Now if I hit Command F again, it Gaussian blurs even more. Now let me click to down here, which is this button up here. Let me go Command F once and Command F twice. Now I have the start of those 2 buttons. Now I have an extra brightening thing right here that I've already done for here and here, and I'm going to show it to you. So I'm going to make this layer say number 1 center, and this one's going to say number 2 center. Now this one up here is the button that's in the foreground. So let's go click on this one. I'll show you the shape I drew. See it right there? It's in the center. Do you see those 2 right there? Now let's grab a brighter value. Let's make it slightly brighter, just like this. Now I'm going to hit Command H, and then I'm going to Gaussian blur it. So I'm going to make a big brush. I don't need much. I just need 1, 2, 3, 4. See that? Now let's go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5. Then let's go down a little bit on this side, just down a little bit on this side. Let's go down a little bit on this side. You know what? I painted that on the wrong layer. Oh, I made a boo-boo. And I knew you knew that too, didn't you? Let me Command Z back, Command Z back, Command Z back, Command Z back, back, and now I'm a good boy. Let me go down to this one because that one is here. So I am now being a better boy. Okay, I found my mistake. I'm going to come in here, make this smaller. I'm trying to keep my mind on which layer I'm supposed to be on. Now let's click up to here and let's do the same thing, but let's now come down just a little bit like this, because I could always kill that on a layer mask. So actually I'm going to Z back once, and I'm just going to just hit it a little bit harder like this. Okay, now let's come a little bit here. Now let's deselect. Let's click here and hit Command F, F, and let's click here and hit Command F, F, and now I have those looking pretty darn good in my building of them. Now let's click to a layer in the middle and start with black middle. Now I'm going to marquee that so I can just keep on going 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's go 3 more layers. Let's go Command V number 2, Command V number 3, Command V number 4. Now purposefully in front of you I didn't do something. I wanted to draw the ellipses on those. Now what I've done is I've already gotten the center shapes done on those, okay? And I am going to put this black back in here, just so you know, but I'm not going to do it yet. Look at how I have these center shapes. I'll make a selection of them. It took me a few minutes to draw them. Now I duplicated them and I moved them over from each other. Let me find out where I did that. Okay, actually what I did was I went to channels. I'm going to show you by moving it out. And I actually moved the black centers to here. Now, why I did that is I actually just moved the selection. So this is what I did. I'm going to show you what I did. I made a selection of these. If you're in the B key or the M key, do you see how you can move the selection over? All I did was save it. Why? Because I want to put the highlight where I'm pointing in there. But I didn't want to draw it again. So I'm going to deselect and redo that for you. But I'm going to go down to black button number 1, which is right there, and I'm going to fill it with black. So let's click to here. Okay? Let's now go to the black button, which I have to find, which is not that, it's that. It's the big shape. Now, the reason why I didn't draw it nicely on the outside is because I can intersect it with the overall shape that I drew of the phone, which is the top one, which is an intersection Command Option Shift click. And now do you see how I actually made the selection with the actual phone? So I'll turn off the clicky copy. I hope you understood what I did there. Now, if I paint this on this layer with black, you shouldn't see it through here. And if you do, I can just layer mask it off. So let me deselect, make a layer mask on that, and now let me paint this out on the layer mask so I don't see it. Not a big deal. I'm not erasing. I'm using a layer mask to paint that out on, which is the proper thing to do with a layer mask. Now, I have that done gorgeous. Now all I need to do is turn on the clicky copy and do my detail. So how do I do the detail? Well, the whole thing is pretty much black. All I need to do is do some grays. So I hit the U key and I need to draw those ellipses out. So if I hold the Option key, do you see how I can actually draw this ellipse here? Hit Command T, put it in position like this. Let me come here and put this in position here. Hit this key. Now, I am going to, I'm thinking while I'm doing this, I am going to actually take this button with the P key. I'm going to, okay, I need to click on it and move it out. We'll turn a live shape into a regular path. Yes. I want it to stay. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to actually move this up a little bit. And now you can see how I'm doing this. And I'm actually going to click here. Whoops, I missed. Add it to there. There we go. Now I'm going to take that one away. I'm going to click this one and move it down a little bit, although I'm not going to paint that far. I'm going to click this one. And then I need to just take this and shrink it, because I really don't need anything over there. Let me take this one and shrink it. This is not a very pretty path. I'll tell you that right now. Now, let me just come, oh man. Okay, so now I've fixed that. Let me take this one and bring it in. Okay, I have to grab it again. Okay, I really only wanted this to paint a little gray over here, if you follow what I'm doing. Okay, now, let me save that. I'll call this number 1. Now let me Command click on it so I can make number 2. So I take the U key and I make another inside shape. Let me hit Command T and move this to here, and now that is what I actually wanted from the ellipse. Now I hit the return key. Now let's save that as number 2. Now I actually want a third one, and I want the third one to help me with the black on the center. So I click away from it. I take the U key. I now start with the Option key and I make this come right up to here. It's almost perfect. I almost don't even need Command T on it. Whoa, that's really pretty. Okay, so now I will hit Command T because I want to make it a little deeper. Okay, now let's make our buttons. So here is the black number 2. Now with black number 2, I'm going to go into this one right here. Let me grab this, which is this color right here. Make my brush bigger. Let's turn off the clicky copy. Now let's look at the little clicky copy so I can see what I'm doing. Let's hit Command H. Let's make this come in here like this. And now you can see how I'm just freehanding this value right across like that. Okay, that's not bad. Let's get a little bit brighter with it right here. Okay, now let's go to the next layer. The next layer should get this number 2 shape. So now let's take this and I can even paint a little highlight in there, but now let's get even brighter with it. So let's take this Command H. Let's go down like this. So now I have this, and let's come in like this. Let's put it down a little bit like that. Okay, that's pretty. Let's make sure we have enough going on there. Okay, that's not bad. I think that's working. Now let's go to the next shape. Let's go to the next one, which is, oops, I never named it number 3. That was bad. Let's make a selection of number 3 and let's go back to black. Okay, so let's hit Command H. Now, let's really flood the black in there. And now I've got the start of my buttons. Now, all I have to do is make another layer. It's already there. Let's call it holes. I need holes 1 and I need holes 2. So I need another layer called holes 2. Now, on holes number 1, I've already made the, I have to find where I put it. It's way up there. Nope. Yep. Let's go Command click that. Now, I didn't mean to zoom out. I'm so sorry. Now, all I need to do is fill that with black. So let's go click. And let's take Command H, and now let's fill that with black. I can just go Option Delete. And now I've got that done pretty well. I didn't do a very good job out here on this button here, but I'm going to actually add a layer mask to that. So let me hit Command D to deselect, add a layer mask out here, and I'm going to take that away from here by just painting it out on this and painting it a little bit out on that. And now I need to put in the little centers, the bright centers. So I find me the buttons. Didn't sound very good there. I find the buttons, and now I go down to the buttons that I made in the channels and I intersect it. Now I'm going to shrink that by a little bit. So select, modify, contract by 2 pixels. Look at how neat that is. It's probably too much that I did, so I should go 1 pixel. Modify, contract by 1 pixel, and then I'm going to hit Command H. I'm going to grab a highlight color, and I'm just going to come in here and look at how I'm going to paint this in the center and get a little bit brighter in some of the areas. Okay, so now this gets a little brighter here, a little less bright over here. Let's come in here and get a little bit bright right there, and now let's come over here. Look at how that's actually adding to the beautiful part of this. Let's come in here and add a little bit over here. Let's come in here and add a little bit over here. And now look at how I actually have not a bad rendition of those, and I think that's really pretty. Okay, now I'm going to take the holes away because you can see how I should have a little highlight right there. All right, now I want to put it where it's supposed to go, which is above the shapes that are the big buttons but below the holes. Okay, so these 2 layers that are off because they're the holes. So I'm now going to put this as a highlight on the buttons. And then I'll put all that into a folder. Now I got to find how to do it. So what I want, if I turn on the clicky copy, is I want to paint between here and here. See that right there? So I'm going to make a selection of the button. I have to find my button It's probably all the way on the bottom now. Yes, it is. So it's right there. Now, I'm going to actually have to shift it over to the right. I have to shift it from here to here. So I'm moving it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it? Select, save selection, and I'll just say, I don't know what to say on this one. Let me say moved on the black. I have no idea. Button. That's probably overkill. So now with that selected, all I have to do is intersect it with the thing that I just made, which was right there. So I hold Command Option Shift. Nope, I make the first one. Yep, I make the first one on number 2, and I go find the channel, and I now actually go, let me figure out what I want to do. No, I got that correct. I want to take the first one, which is this one, and I want to subtract this one, which is, oh, I had it right in the first place. So now I have the area for the highlight, but I'm going to, let me tell you what I did. Make a selection of the one I moved. Go Command, Option, or Control Alt to subtract this one. Now it's too thick. See, it's too thick. So go to Select, Modify, Contract by 2 pixels. No, sorry, too much. 1 pixel. And now let me hit Command H, and let me turn off this and grab my B key, and then I'm going to Gaussian blur it in a minute. But let me just make a highlight on that edge, just like this. I don't care how much I go, because I can always turn it back. I'll even go farther than I need, right there. Okay, that's beautiful. Let me deselect. Now let's hit Command F, Command F. That's beautiful. Now let me move it forward by hitting the V key. The V key is to move a layer. So I can hit the V key and move it forward right to there. Now let me turn on those 2 black buttons, or the 2 black shapes, and look at how beautiful I have that. Now I even have this shape, this little triangle shape. Okay, I'll even go up here to layer 7, and I'll put in triangle 1, and then I'll double click it, Command C, and then make another layer. Whoops, that was a layer mask, Brian. Make another layer and call it triangle 2. Now on triangle 1, I'm going to paint it. I already have the shape drawn. I'll show it to you. If I can find it, it's way up on top, and I'll have, there it is, right there. So I take that shape and make a selection of it. All I have to do, and I'm talking about the outer brighter tone. So if I take this and go click to that color and hit Command H to hide the selection, you can see how I have the brighter color on the outside. Look how nice. I'll take the brighter color over the top and the brighter color like this. Now a simple Gaussian blur on that will make it look great. But let me click to triangle 2. Now all I have to do is take that and shrink it. So if I take the selection Command H, show you the clicky copy, go up to Select, Modify, Contract by about 4 pixels. Perfect. Now all I have to do is grab a dark value. I'll make it a little darker than I need, and then I'll Gaussian blur both of them. Let me hit Command H. Now I'm not just going to flood it in there. I'm going to hit it on the one side. See how nice? I'm going to hit it on the top side. See how nice I'm going this way? And then I'll hit it a little harder on the back side. And now I have that shape done just beautiful. Deselect, hit Command F, and then click on the layer below it and hit Command F. And you can see just how beautiful that looks. Command S to save the file, and look at how nice my shape is. Now, let's make another folder. Let's just call it buttons. Top buttons. Now I only have one more thing to do, and then I can stop this file, and then we'll go on to the last one, which is going to be the front face. Actually, I don't. I have this up here to do, but I'm going to do this one on the front face because I think this movie's getting way too long. So did I spell that right? Yes, I did. Now let's go here and grab all of these buttons, which are way too many layers to try to not organize. Close it and go like this. Now let's make a bunch of new layers. Let's go here and we'll call this side. So I'll go side 1. Let me double click it, hit Command C and call it side 1. Let's double click it and call it side 2. Double click it, side 3. Double click it, side 4. This is like an intense file. I understand that. Okay, but you have got to watch how I paint things, and then you can see how to paint them too. They're not hard if you have them drawn. Now I've already drawn a bunch of these shapes. All I've done is drawn the big rounded rectangle, and then to get the highlight inside of here, watch how easy I make it. Okay, now again I may paint 2 colors on one layer and break my own rule. Now I believe I called this side. Let me see if I did call it the side. I don't know where I put it. I'm looking. Whoa, where did I put all of them? Okay, hopefully I didn't throw them away. Okay. Center. I think I called them. No, I didn't call them center. Okay, Mr. Soil, where did you do with them? You drew every single one. All right, I need to find them. I feel silly now. Okay, it's all right. I'll find them. I think I only drew a couple of the shapes. You know what? I don't see them. I'm gonna have to stop this file, I think. I am in shock. Either I dreamed it or whatever. All right, I probably will come back with those. Let me put this on pause and see what I did with them. Okay, you're going to think I was silly. They are there. I just was looking up on this little clicky copy for the paths. You're going to do it all the time. I'm actually glad I look like a fool in front of you. I don't care. That is so silly. I mean, okay, I was looking at that shape up there, not the side shape, okay? But let me hit the V key, right-hand click, and move this down so we can see this really good next to it. And then I'm going to start on the bottom layer on side 1. We need a dark and a light on it, and then we need a center. So number 2 is going to be the center. So what I'm going to do is show you that I have the outer shape. If I can find it now. I think I started with that one. There it is right there. So now if I turn the clicky copy on, you can see that that is the light bottom and the dark top. So let me hit Command H. Let's grab a B key. Look at how fast I can do this. And I'm going to now take the brush. Let me see where Command H is again. And now all I have to do is run this down. And you can see how I can just put this dark value right along the top there. Really nice, okay? That's a nice dark value that I can kind of vignette back with a layer mask. Now on the same layer, yes, on the same layer, I'm going to come in from the bottom, and you can see how I can put in this little highlight edge on the same layer, but they're separated. One is on the top, one is on the bottom, okay? Now, let me just take and see what shape I was going to make there. Okay, I'm going to find that shape. It's right there. Okay, that's good. Now, what I want to do here is I want to only paint the gray in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to take that shape. Let me click away from that. Let me make sure I click on the next layer up, which I wasn't going to do. And let's take, and I want to see where that is. Okay, that is going to be the main buttons. That is the outer shape. So I make a selection of it. And I'm going to shrink that, going to select, modify, contract, and I want to go in by 4 pixels first. Oh, that's perfect. Now all I have to do is paint the center here. Now really what I should do is I've already drawn this shape and this shape. So if I subtract the 2 shapes that I've drawn, which are here, right here, this shape right there. Oh, you know what? I didn't actually, I was going to do that for you on screen. I drew this shape, which if I hit the P key, I wanted you to see something. See how I drew this shape right here? I wanted to hold Command Option and make a copy of it for over here, and then I'll repeat the process. But in doing that, I need to stretch out these points right over here. So holding Command Option or Control Alt in the pen, and you drag away, you make duplicate shapes. Let me save the file. That was important. Now, let me take the outer shape and make a selection of it. Let me again go to Select, Modify Contract by 4 pixels. Now I'm going to go Command Option or Control Alt, and I'm going to find that layer. Okay, it's not a layer, it's a path, and I'm going to actually subtract these two shapes from that. You see how I got this little center shape? See that? Now, let me hit Command H, and let's grab that correct value. Let me take the B key and grab that correct value right there. And then let me make it big. And now let's paint it gently inside of here. So let's go bright on the top. I know I said one color for one layer, but you see how quickly I can actually come into the bottom and just paint that just like that. So I did that really easily. Now let's go in here and go to side 3, and I'm going to put another word in there for black. Now let me Command click the black buttons, and let's just grab the black tone and hit Option Delete. Now I'm going to deselect. Look at how quickly I've gotten that going. Okay, now all I have to do is Gaussian blur it by 1 pixel. So let's go Filter, Blur, Gaussian blur by 1 pixel, and now I've got that beautiful. Now let's go up. I'm going to need 2 more besides that. So let's go Command V number 5, Command V number 6, and let's go down to this one. I've already got the buttons drawn, but I'm going to paint them in a darker gray. Okay, so I'm going to come in here like this. There is my big buttons. Let me make a selection of it so I can show you what I've done. See how I drew that? Well, they didn't have to be that pretty. All I'm going to hit is Command H, and I'm going to hit Option Delete. Now that's going to fill it up with that gray. Now, what I'd like to do is darken the bottom of it and vignette out the back of it. So I'm going to deselect and add a what to it? Yes, a layer mask. Now, if I take the layer mask and I kill it on the back of the layer mask, look at how I'm vignetting the buttons so they kind of just disappear into that little hole. See, I'm not painting, I'm eliminating the buttons from that. Now let me come in here. See how the button gets darker right here? Well, I'm just going to use a layer mask and just get rid of it. So look at, I'm just getting rid of it on a layer mask. 1 and 2. Look at how nice that is. Look at how simple this is. It really isn't brain surgery, but because it's the same technique applied over and over and over and over again. Okay, it really honestly is. Now, what I would like to do is just get a little bit darker on the bottom. So I'm going to go to a new layer, go back and attack those buttons just like this, hit Command H, grab a dark value, and I'm just going to run the dark value on the bottom just a bit, just right there and just right there. Now I was correct on how many layers I actually needed inside of here. I'm just going to click to this one, and I want to do this highlight edge. Well, here are the front of the buttons right there. Now let me turn on the clicky copy so I can show you that I have a little bit of fix up here to do. Let me turn this off. There's a little bit of a fix up here right in the corner here. Now I'm going to actually make a selection of that, and I'm going to shrink it by 1 pixel. So modify, contract by 1 pixel. So I'm going to click to layer 5. Let me make sure layer, okay, I need to go to side 6, and then I'm going to need another layer for the highlight, which I'll name highlight. There. Highlight. Okay, now I'm going to actually make the buttons. So I'm going to hit Command H, and now let's grab that dark value, and I want to actually make this darker. There, that now fixed that part of the button. That fixed that part of the button right here. I had a boo-boo there. Now let's go up to the highlight layer and figure out how we're going to do that. Here are the buttons right here, down here. Now let me make a selection of it. All it means is I have to move one over from another. Now if I go, or else go to Select, modify, contract. Now I want to take this over to here. Do you see what I'm saying? I think it's 3 pixels. Yes. Now, if I save that as my 2 buttons, because there's 2 of them there, all I have to do is make a selection of the first one right there. Nope, it's right there, and go down in channels and subtract this one. Now I get to paint the highlight, but I only want to paint it on top. So be very careful, Mr. Sorial, what you're doing. Let me hit Command H. Let me grab this tone, and I only want to paint the highlight on the top. Okay, there's 1 button for a highlight. I'll get a little bit stronger right in the middle. And let's come over here for the other button on the highlight, which is right there. Come down just a little bit like this. And now let's put a little bit of a brighter tone right here, and then hit it a little harder right there and a little harder right there. That's very pretty. Now let's deselect, and I'm going to come back on it like this and put a little tiny little bright highlight there and a little bright highlight right there. And now I have those buttons done. I pretty much should have mostly everything done except for that one shape on top. And I think we've done a fairly decent job in recreating this entire thing. You know what I did? I did forget something. Let me zoom in and I'll show you. This should get blacker right there. I forgot to do that. But I want to put it on the correct layer. I want to put it 1 layer underneath everything. So if I deselect and hit the V key and find out what layer this is on right there, it should take me right to that layer. See, right there? Now, if I go 1 layer below that, right here, I should be able to, let me turn this off again. Yes, if I go right here on this layer, it's below that layer. I actually had it, if I can find it quickly. It's probably right there, nope, right there. There it is. I command click it right there. Now let's go see the clicky copy. See what that little darkness is right there? I'm going to hit Command H. I'm going to hit the B key and grab a dark. I'm now going to take the brush and I'm going to just paint it nice and dark inside of here. Actually, that's beautiful. I don't need to do anything. Let me deselect, add a layer mask to that layer, which is way down here, add a layer mask, and now I'm going to make sure I deselect it again, and I just want to eliminate this from the back of that button. There. Now that's really pretty. Now let's hit Command S to save, and I'll see you on the next file where we'll finish off this top part and put on the pretty picture. Okay, and then I'll put it into a background. All right? Goodbye.